When a property is listed for sale, it can often have an inspection time listed for interested buyers to turn up at that time. This is called an open inspection. Anyone can turn up and have a squiz. The property is said to be open for inspection during that time. And by the way, open for inspection is sometimes abbreviated to OFI. The OFI percentage is the number of properties advertised for sale with an open inspection date. And then it's calculated as a percentage. So if there were 5 properties listed for sale and 1 had an open inspection, then the OFI percentage would be 20%. If 4 of the 5 properties had open inspection times, then the OFI percent would be 80%. Okay, so what does the OFI percentage tell us? Well, imagine you're a real estate agent trying to sell a property for your client. You list the property for sale and you wait for people to contact you. Now, if demand exceeds supply, you don't have to wait long to get your first interested buyer. They ask to visit the property to inspect it. So you contact the owner to arrange a time and then see if that is okay with the potential buyer too. You and the potential buyer turn up at the agreed time, and then later the same day there is a call from another interested buyer. You ring up the owner and arrange another time later the same day. You get back to the office and get a call from yet another interested buyer. You can see that if demand exceeds supply in the market, the agent will not be using their time efficiently. And the owner will be sick of presenting the property again and again for each potential buyer. So what would any sensible sales agent do? Well, they'd arrange for an open inspection, of course. This can be advertised on the listing site, like Domain or Real Estate. Now, every interested potential buyer can come through at the same time. Real estate agents encourage their clients to have open inspections in markets where demand exceeds supply. Now, that makes perfect sense in a market where demand exceeds supply, but what if supply exceeds demand? Well, as the agent, you would turn up early on inspection day, set up signs outside the property and along the street. The owner would have already spent hours tidying up, spraying air freshener or baking bread or whatever they do. All the junk's been tucked away. You and the owner wait patiently for the first visitor, and nobody turns up because demand is so weak relative to supply. So the strategy that works well in a market where demand exceeds supply fails miserably in a market where supply exceeds demand. As investors, you want to buy in markets where demand exceeds supply, since it's the only way in which prices rise. Now, one way to gauge if demand is exceeding supply is to calculate the percentage of properties being listed for sale with open inspections. The OFI percent is a statistic that gauges the level of demand relative to supply according to how real estate agents at the coalface are reading it. A market with a high OFI percentage is most probably a market in which demand exceeds supply. Note that some areas may have a very different culture amongst agents as to how they like to list their properties for sale. There are many rural areas that have always had a very low percentage of open for inspections. So it can be hard figuring out what a good value is versus a bad one. It's probably, therefore, best to view an historical chart to see if there's been a change over recent times where the figure has risen.